Okay, favorite thing about cosplay, you get to become somebody you're not, which is fun. Get to meet people like you. I guess, one way to put it is, you're escaping reality. I know that sounds really cheesy, but like, some, if not most, if not all, cosplayers, don't feel accepted, I guess. I don't know. Maybe there are some. I don't know. I know I don't. I don't feel accepted most of the time. So, to get away from feeling like you're not accepted by people, you dress up as characters that are accepted, and you get to feel, and you get all of a sudden all this attention from strangers and tons of people just telling you that you're pretty, that they like your costume, that they want your picture, and you end up all over the internet with all these good compliments. It's just a really good way to get away from being yourself when your life sucks, I guess.
I have been cosplaying since Easter weekend of 2011, so that was 14 years ago. And since that fateful day, when I was 14, cosplay has been my passion. I have non-stop thought about it since that day. It was my goal to make it a bigger part of my life in any way possible. It was the only time in my childhood where I felt understood, where I felt safe, where I felt free of bullying, where I felt like I belonged. And I chased that for years. As I got older, I realized that it was what I really wanted to make my job. I didn't know how, because the only way to make it your job was either to have already gotten famous or gone viral, or become such a good craftsman that you get hired to be a proxy model. So in high school, when it was time to do the career training and look at colleges, I decided to attempt the latter. And I wanted to become such a good craftsman that companies would hire me to model costumes, to become the official character name, whatever. So I went to college for costume technology, and then I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts in costume technology, which has resulted in me having $100,000 of debt because I graduated college in 2019, in December of 2019. So after that, the pandemic hit, and I lost the job that I was working at the time, which was serving and bartending. By this point, I had already explored my sexuality to a degree where I realized that the performance of sexuality was something I was extremely comfortable with, and as you all may know, at the beginning of the pandemic was the OnlyFans boom. So I started OnlyFans. At this point in time, the OnlyFans boom resulted in lots of money coming in for all sorts of creators for very little effort. We also had the support checks, the government support checks. And so I took this as a sign to finally try to become a professional cosplayer via the former, which was by building a platform so large that I received sponsorships, merchandise sales, and subscriptions on OnlyFans. This has been my job since that day. Cosplay was my passion since I was 14, and I have always been drawn to fictional characters. I've always related to fictional characters, and so dressing up as them made me feel more understood. I felt it was easier to make friends because you would meet someone who is in the same fandom as you just by looking at what they're wearing. You would immediately have that connection with other people, and majority of the people in the community are also ostracized, alienated, bullied, neurodivergent, what have you. After it became my full-time job, the passion had to fall to the wayside, because as I was surrounding myself with other professionals, I realized that I was not making nearly as much money as them. And we were all doing the same thing. We were all cosplaying, and we were all creating cosplay content on OnlyFans. So I thought, maybe it's the characters. Maybe I'm not doing characters that are popular enough. So passion fell to the wayside, and I started making costumes of characters I didn't really care about, but I thought that maybe other people would, consumers would care, and my audience would grow, and then I would be able to make a living income that way. Still, income was not comparable. So then it started to eat away at me from a more personal perspective. I then started to compare my body to that of my coworkers. All of them. Every little minuscule detail. Because prior to this job, I thought that I was up there physically. I knew I was underweight, but that was about all I thought. Now, I am acutely aware of every single little detail about myself that is not the same as the highest grossing earners. After years of battling with self-esteem issues, a financial inferiority complex, and the inability to solidify any sort of audience that would garner me the sponsorships that I so dearly wanted, and still have not been able to get a booth babe or a proxy job or a model job for an official company. This has led me to some serious mental breaks. Very serious mental breaks. The more I was crafting characters I did not care about, the more I started to hate the hobby that I had turned into my job. I was crunching for conventions that were expensive, with materials that were expensive, to make costumes of characters I did not care about. All because I thought that that would finally be my big break. I was spending money on pre-made costumes of characters that I had never even consumed the media of, in hopes that it would be the one thing that would boost me to a level of comfortable income, to finally chase the passion of making costumes I actually wanted to make. Every character that I truly cared about ended up being pushed to the wayside in order for me to focus on characters I thought had a better ROI, or return on income, or return on investment. Everything became a numbers game. If I spend this much money on this character, will I make it back plus more? If the answer was no, then I didn't. And if the answer was yes, then I did. I grinded, and I tried to do that. That's not what cosplay is about. That is not what cosplay is supposed to be about. And I think this is, in part, the pandemic's fault. Because during the pandemic, TikTok blew up. And as we all know, TikTok sort of spearheaded or multiplied the brain rot phenomenon that we're seeing on the internet. Instead of truly sitting down and consuming art the way that it was meant to be consumed, we consume everything in pure just seconds, with the intent of a very quick dopamine rush, and then you scroll past. And in those dopamine rushes are people's content, which I have decided that I actually hate that word. To be a content creator, I think, completely sanitizes the art that predecessed the content we create. When I was a teenager and I was cosplaying, it was an art form. It was something that was rich with passion.
Cool.
It was something that people who were the same walk of life came together to bond over being different. And now all it is content. All it is slop for the machine so that people who don't cosplay feel comfortable scrolling through a feed, seeing us for 2 seconds, getting a quick rush of dopamine, and then scrolling again. It's no longer art. It's slop. We're making slop. And that, the realization of that has broken my heart. That I have sanitized myself to become slop for the machine. I no longer make art for the purpose of impressing myself. I make art for the purpose of what I think might impress others. And that's not art. I don't want to feel that way anymore about something that used to bring me so much joy. One of the mental breaks that I had led me to delete all social media off my phone for 2 months. I took a very long hiatus so that I could no longer look at other people's content and compare myself to it and feel like shit. And during this period, I was sewing for myself. I was crafting for myself. I was making things that I wanted to make for the sake that I simply just thought it would be fun. And then I had fun. And then when I came back, I posted a video that has almost hit 1 million views. And while that sounds like that's exactly what I wanted, turns out it wasn't. Because all the comments were body shaming me, were pointing out flaws that I was very aware of and very self-conscious of, and hurt my feelings so bad that I refused to put that costume on ever again. I wore it once, and then I gave it away. Because the internet is so in tune with consuming something, making the comment, commenting on it whichever way they want, not realizing how it's going to affect the person on the other end of the screen, and then scrolling away and forgetting about it. That is what we have succumbed ourselves to. I don't think a lot of people understand what it feels like to want something so bad, to take a break from the thing that is blocking you from getting it, coming back to it, and then immediately being, having the confirmation that the reason you're not successful is because you don't look a certain way. And I understand that I do have a lot of privileges here. I am thin, I'm white, I'm conventionally attractive, but the algorithms, it's more than that. It's luck. You have to have luck. You have to have a high quality camera, a high quality phone. You have to have a plain background. I mean, it was all sorts of things that I was studying, the number games that I was playing with myself that took away from the actual passion of the art. It was no longer, do I care about this character? It was, is this background white enough? Is this background plain enough? Is this picture in the perfect ratio? Am I posting it at the exact right time? Is the brand going to see it? And it's tiring. And it's very tiring. And seeing everybody else seem to have figured it out and make enough money to travel and go to all these conventions and experience all these experiences that I have simply not had the pleasure of being able to afford to do has fucked with my psyche deeply. I have wanted this since I was 14. And then I got it. And it didn't work. I spent $100,000 getting a degree to do a job that doesn't work like that. At a certain point, I started to think that maybe everybody could just smell that I wanted it so bad, because as I got to know people, it seemed like the job was thrust upon them. There's no way to work yourself into a content creator job. That just doesn't exist. It's something that is handed to you, whether you want it or not. No matter how hard you work, you won't get it. It has to be given to you. And this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. It's a wake-up call for me. It doesn't matter how bad you want it. It literally does not. It doesn't matter how much you study. It doesn't matter how good of a seamstress you are, how good at construction you are. If you don't know the right people, you will never get those opportunities. If you don't have a certain size platform, you will never get those opportunities. It got to a point where I started to notice that I was not being invited to some of the same things that some of my other friends were being invited to. And if I wasn't being included in pictures. And then you just have to be like, well, it's a business. If I'm not benefiting somebody else's business, why would they benefit mine? Why would they be willing to benefit mine? And that's terrible. I get so sick of going to these events and being ready to like make friends, because the point of cosplay is to meet people with similar interests. The point of cosplay is to no longer feel alienated or ostracized, to meet people with similar interests, and then showing up to something and people being like, this is going to be good networking. We need to go to this so we can network. I don't want to network. I don't want this to be about numbers. I want to make friends. I want to make friends who are good at what they do, who care about what they do, and we can share crafting tips or share suggestions for pieces of media. And try as I might to be as genuine as I possibly could, there are just shortcomings that are going to happen because of the fact that I can't afford every convention, and I can't afford every after party, and I don't get into everything for free, and my following is small. And that's just the realism of all of it. After my first video almost hit 1 million views, I decided that that was my breaking point for crafting. I was no longer going to craft anything, but I was going to continue to try to be a professional cosplayer. And when Dan announced that they were coming out with an anime, I loved that manga. I was like, finally, something that I truly, truly care about is getting attention. I can probably ride this wave. This is my ticket. This is my viral moment. This is when I'm going to grow my platform. And I'm finally going to make the amount of money that I need to support this extremely expensive job. More than half of my income goes right back into this job. The amount of materials required to continue making multiple new cosplays a month is actually ridiculous and wasteful. You guys don't realize how wasteful this job is, because you make a costume, you wear it once, and then once everybody on your feed has seen it, reposting it hurts you. If your post doesn't reach a certain percentage of engagement, it hurts your account. You have to retain a certain percentage of engagement in order to keep being shown on new feeds, to grow your audience, to continue making more money. So after I had spent all that money and time on previous costumes, you can't post them again, so what's the point of putting them on again? And then you just end up with a closet full of costumes of characters that you don't even like. Once Dan was announced, I was so excited to finally cosplay Granny Psycho and have people know who that was. And so at Anime Expo, after I was done slaving away at the costumes I didn't care about, I put together like a haphazard Amazon Granny Psycho. It wasn't the best, but I was the first, and I thought this was my ticket. I made a reel that has reached over 1 million views. And I had to turn the comments off because all the comments were telling me to quit. All the comments were telling me that I was a whore, and that my costume was terrible, and that I should quit. And you know what? You win. You win. I do quit. This job is not meant for everybody. And it sure as hell is not made for me. 14-year-old me is reeling. 14-year-old me is floored. To have had this opportunity and it not work out is a gut punch. Being left out of things for reasons beyond my knowledge. Not getting invited to things, being uninvited to things, and being body shamed, not only by viewers and consumers, but also by my fellow cosplayers. This community sucks. This community is just about numbers. And there have been, of course, a few amazing people that I've met through this. Like, don't get me wrong. My best friend, my partner, shout out to Peach Jars, who literally saw that I was struggling and helped me just out of the goodness of her heart with no strings attached. That was crazy. I will cherish that weakened forever. There are some great people, but for every good person, there is a ton of clout chasers, mean girls, and these people are ruining what cosplay is really about. I'm tired of treating cosplay like it's a beauty pageant. I'm tired of treating it like it's a popularity contest. I'm tired of trying to be the first to something. And I'm tired of crafting, which is sad because it used to be one of my biggest passions. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't. And I don't want to play the game anymore. I don't want to play the system anymore. I don't want to play the algorithm anymore. I just don't. Is this to say that I'm quitting cosplay entirely? No. Like I said, it's been my passion since I was 14. Really what I'm trying to do is repair my relationship with it. I want to cosplay the things that I actually care about, the characters I actually like, outfits I actually want to see on my body. But I'm not sharing them. I'm not going to worry about getting the right picture, or the right angle, or the right caption, or the right audio, or meeting the right people and doing the right group. I'm over it. It's for me now. It's not for monetization purposes. If I share it, I share it, but don't expect to see a lot of it, because you won't. My relationship with professional cosplay has been incredibly rocky. I have had so many job opportunities taken from me simply for being a sex worker. I've had so many things said about me by event coordinators because I'm a sex worker. And so many other professionals. There's so many other people who want to be in my shoes who have decided to say extremely negative things about me because they don't get the opportunities that I worked incredibly hard for. Every event I worked was because I made a portfolio and I wrote them an email explaining them my skill set and sent my portfolio. Every booth I ever worked was either because I paid for that booth or because I did exactly what I just described with the event coordinators. Every job I got was because I worked for it and asked for it. And I realized too that a lot of jobs out there happen just because you know the right person. And I don't know the right people. I'm from Nashville. I'm actually from a tiny town that's 50 miles away from Nashville. I don't know anyone. Everybody I've met was because I really wanted to be friends with them. I never got to be a booth model. I never got to be a proxy model, no matter how good my craftsmanship was. I spent so much money to try to make this work. And it didn't. And it didn't. So why would I keep trying? I want to repair my relationship with a hobby that I once loved so dearly, because right now I don't love it. Right now it is full of negative connotations. The way that ostracization felt and the relief that came with finding a community of like-minded individuals that has now been sullied by a beauty pageant. And maybe I sound like a sore loser. And that's because I am. I am hurt that it didn't work out for me. I thought that the amount of passion I had for the craft and the community would take me farther. And it became clear that I just am not built for it. That I'm missing something, and no one can seem to tell me what that magic thing that I'm missing is. So why keep trying? Why keep selling myself like this? I've branded myself as the jackass of all trades because I have had to learn so many skills in order to keep my head above water I've had to take on so many odd jobs in order to afford my bills and then afford the materials required to continue working the job and my taxes. And I realize that the more I brand myself as the girl that can do anything, the less people are impressed when I'm good at something. It has become an expectation now that I can do something new and be decent at it. And also, the more I try new things, the more I alienate my audience because they are with me for one reason. And I keep trying to expand, and I'm stretching myself thin. And the fact that I even had to care about that is crazy. After this, I will still continue to do OnlyFans because I do like that. I do enjoy it. I think it's fun. It pays for a majority of my bills. I really don't have any issue taking part in that. I have no problems. I like it. But I am quitting using cosplay as my advertisement for it. Contentifying, something that I'm passionate about. From now on, I just want to have fun. From now on, I just want to put on fun little outfits. I want to eat fish. And I want to party. And that's all I really care about. So this is my official resignation from the professional cosplay community. I won't miss you. And if you are an audience member of mine, a community member of mine, this is your place to choose. If you were here only because you cared about cosplay, I'm sorry, you won't get it anymore. But if you were here because for some reason you decided that you liked me, my streams, I don't know, well, buckle up because a lot is about to change. I have so many more announcements coming, but I'm not a cosplayer anymore. I am not a professional cosplayer. I am officially retired.